Welcome back to another episode of the Sky Society podcast. Today, I am super excited to be chatting with Alex Basso. She is the marketing manager at YouTube. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, Natalie, and hey, Sky Society community.
Yes, welcome. Welcome. And I should have clarified, marketing manager in the podcast space at YouTube, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes. So before we jump into your incredible career journey, jumping all over from Stubhub to LinkedIn to Twitch, starting in Tallahassee, ending up over here at YouTube, can you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. So my undergrad focus, I was lucky enough to double major. So I double majored in marketing and then finance.
That was my double major.
Oh, nice.
I did both. Yes. I feel like they complement each other really well.
They do.
Yeah.
So pros and cons to both for sure, but it allowed me to kind of rule out kind of the finance aspect just because I do have a affinity to more creative outlets. So recommend marketing if you really are looking for more of a creative way into business, because it is a pretty reliable field. So I think that was like my thinking going into it. And just I watched kind of my mom have her own business, so really wanted to get into that space. Yeah, and then once I graduated, also throughout college, I did a couple internships, and then once I graduated, I was able to get kind of a post-grad internship, and I didn't think that was an option actually. So did a post-grad internship out in San Francisco, which was really cool just to let me kind of get out of my comfort zone. And then from there, yeah, I started my career. Not really where I thought I would. Honestly, when graduating with marketing and finance, kind of took a different route. So happy to get into that further. And yeah, then throughout my career, I didn't start out in marketing. It kind of divvied into PR a little bit, dabbled into data analytics a bit, and then finally landed into like a more considerable marketing role. And then have also been playing both sides with kind of B2B consumer, and then also into creator, which is super exciting. That field is exploding right now.
Yes. You do have, I feel like, quite the journey of like you touching a lot of different areas within marketing.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm curious for you, so you have this double major in finance marketing, which are kind of opposites. Like they complement each other in the sense that you get to explore like a very analytical field. But I remember like just it being completely different being in my classes for both of those majors. Like one big difference is that in finance, you're like the only girl. I don't know if it was like that for you. It was like that for me. No.
Yeah.
No. And then marketing was the opposite. It'd be like all women and like a handful of men. Like very, very different. But I remember for me, the reason I chose marketing was I was in a business fraternity and we had like interview all of the members and I asked everybody like, what are you majoring in and why? And everybody for finance all talked about job security and money. And then everyone in marketing talked about like it was their passion and that's what they like felt like they could express themselves. And I remember that like that was when I was like, oh, I think I really align with that more than I align with job security. But I'm curious for you, what was kind of the thing that made you feel like, okay, marketing is where I need to be?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely echo that sentiment as well. And just like, yeah, it didn't really excite me to go to those classes. And I think also it's sad, but the lack of diversity as well and viewpoints there. Luckily, there were a few girls, but yeah, I saw them throughout the same classes and, they were bomb at what they did. But for me, it just like wasn't resonating. But I think I'm very happy with that choice because it really rounded out my experience. And, throughout all business, you really do need to have kind of that finance hat, monetary hat of like, what is the ROI? And that also translates into marketing. I think the marketing education was lacking there, say though, for like real world applicability. I think hopefully it's changed and with different programs, obviously, but it came across as really like hypothetical or just like very esoteric of what marketing is and like the, you know, the 4 P's of promotion, whatever. And
Yes, that
I
you
feel like
never talk about ever in your job.
yeah, I feel like a lot of that work it really applies to like consumer goods, but it really didn't translate into me like what the heck marketing is. So I think now the like veil has been uncovered at least though with like social media, with like TikTok exploding, like you really get to see more of like the marketing space evolve. So that's super exciting for me, at least like for kind of new grads and up and coming grads. So just be able to like unveil like what marketing really is and like a day in the life. I see a lot of those, which are cool to see. So, and then kind of communities like this and this accelerator programs, awesome to just be able to like prepare like what marketing looks like. So I didn't really get that through my education, but what I tried to do was just gain as much skills as I could during college. Like I was in Tallahassee, it wasn't in LA or like any metro that like has the really cool brands that you think of today. And luckily now, like more brands are really open to remote work and kind of getting that experience. So wherever you can, try to find, if you are in college still, try to find a role that's like a college ambassador or pick up any work with like kind of local like agencies or anything like that. So I did a couple internships with like a local agency, and then also was able to kind of I did just a proactive like outreach to Rockstar energy drinks. So was able to do a brand ambassadorship with them, which really involved like just getting feedback on products, which was fun, and you know bringing it to sorority and fraternity houses and just getting like just raw feedback there. And then that even allowed me to go to like some Rockstar events just to like see on the ground like what Rockstar was doing, really around sponsorship, just like that whole space is doing. They really try to align themselves to like other brands, which was exciting. And then what was really cool was being able to get out of my comfort zone. And I actually did an internship out in LA at a record label. And yeah, funny story with that. I actually met my boss just out in Miami when I was down there for New Year's and just
No way.
with him. So I think that's also a thing I learned too. Like people are really willing to help. And if you're really passionate about something like I was with music or am with music, you know, he could see that passion. And, you know, he was, you know, a high up marketing director and he kind of saw that passion in me. So I just kept in contact with him. And I remember I went out to LA just to go visit. And that like ended up being one of my interview processes. So that was really cool.
Amazing. So we're
Of
New
like,
Year's is, by the time recording this, New Year's is around the corner. So
yeah,
instead of a New Year's kiss, look for a New Year's boss employer interview.
yeah. And in no way like was it even anything like that. It was more just like, oh, we
I
were
know,
in this
yeah.
like spark up conversation of like, hey, what do you do? So it kind of organically happened. And I at the time I was just going into my senior, so it would have been in that summer. So I had just graduated at like junior year of college. So I remember I actually did have a choice. Like I was also interviewing kind of for a healthcare advertising firm. So it was like a tale of two paths, like either go to New York and do healthcare advertising or do an unpaid internship at a music, you know, label. And I ended up kind of choosing where my passion aligned to most. And I'm really happy I did. It didn't end up being like where I started my career, but I'm glad I was able to like follow through with that opportunity. And it's an opportunity I created myself. So I think just start, you know, it starts with just like looking for those opportunities and thinking about like what you are passionate about, because you'll never regret going out to LA and doing that. And yeah, that's just kind of a little bit of what I did in college.
Wow. So I think the big theme there for you is that you maybe didn't get the level of education that you wanted in terms of marketing, which I could absolutely relate to. I remember like you did a lot of internships and I'd be in class and be like, this isn't even helpful for me. Like I'm working and this isn't even what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
so I always love that angle of learning through experience. Like you mentioned, what we do with Sky Accelerator, our marketing bootcamp is all about experience-based learning, because I feel like that is just how you can grow the most. it's one thing to learn about the 4 Ps of marketing, and it's like something entirely different to actually run a marketing campaign or to actually be there and seeing how it works in a business. And so I love that you were able to get that experience for yourself and even create opportunities that didn't even exist before, because I think the number one thing, at least with girls that I help who are struggling finding work, is they could go back in time, they would wish that they did more internships when they were in college. Like that is the one thing that I feel like they all consistently feel. So if you are listening and you are younger, definitely start doing literally anything you said. It could be an unpaid internship, anything to build up your experience.
Yeah. And I think just not even internships, but like how can you round out your just life experience? So like one of my big regrets is not studying abroad. Like I wish I had that perspective and maybe like could you get a job abroad, or even volunteering. And then now there's just so many online resources, and especially now with like how big like paid social is in that world. I mean, Facebook offers their blueprint certification. I know Google also offers their own. So like you can already start getting those under your belt and getting that experience on your resume. And obviously like there's like LinkedIn Learning, Coursera. There's so many different ways that you can get that more tangible experience that you're not getting, honestly, in the like formal education system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you say that also life experience, because I think that's one of my biggest regrets is just looking back and being like, wow, I did so many awesome things academically and work-wise. And I fortunately did study abroad, and I did, prioritize those life experiences. But sometimes I wish I did it even more, of like taking this, like you said, an opportunity to go live in LA and work for a music record company. Like that's a cool experience, and for every person there may be your own version of that, but pushing yourself and allowing yourself to make those mistakes while you're young, because the older you get, the harder it gets to go and be free and make those mistakes, because the more responsibility you get as an adult. So taking advantage of that, I think, is so important. And I think that those life experiences will also be applicable to your career too, and that it'll round you out as an applicant as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so Alex, you got this experience in college, graduated with 2 degrees, and then I think you went into like business development for a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah, similar. So business operations.
Business
So
operations.
that's also the thing, like you learn, like every company is a little different of like what the role is going to be. But yeah, I ended up going into biotech. It's an area that like my family is really involved in into the sciences. So I kind of felt like, all right, let me try this out. The record label wasn't exactly what I thought. It's a grind, and when you're in LA, it's expensive, and it wasn't the place for me. So I really just wanted to shift gears and see like what other industry could suit me best. Very interesting experience. It also really like honed in on my experience around like data and data analytics. And I thought I was Excel proficient, but I wasn't at the level as a lot of like the people that I started working with that were from Ivy League schools, and that really intimidated me a lot too. And try like when you are there, like don't be intimidated by that. Like there's a reason why you got hired. I remember I felt really intimidated just being there because I felt just totally out of my comfort zone. But there is a perspective that you bring that's different than kind of everyone else that the hiring people saw in you. So kind of don't let that deter you. But yeah, there I did use kind of like basically data analytics and data sources to help like inform data-driven decisions. So there it was using data to basically inform clinical trials. So we'd help like leadership just kind of suss out like, okay, from previous trials, this is where the data can take you and the data that we have on hand. So that was super interesting, and it gave me exposure to like working with leadership and creating presentation decks, which is kind of the unfortunate truth of corporate America. You kind of have to learn to do presentations, but that experience really taught me about that. But it also taught me about kind of what type of role I didn't want, which is also important. Like yeah, you might not get the kind of dream role you want at the dream kind of brand you want at first, but everything kind of falls into place. And just try to find some sort of skill that you can gain in those first few roles, or any role you get, honestly. Like, what can you gain from this, even if it's not your dream role or dream company?
Yes, and figuring out what you don't want to do, in my opinion, is almost more important than figuring out what you do want to do. And that, like, the best way to figure out what you do want to do is to first figure out what you don't want to do. I wanted to be, yeah, like, I probably wouldn't have known I didn't want to be in finance until I like went through and did that major. Or I wanted to be a doctor. I went and interned at a medical clinic, figured out it wasn't for me. I wanted to be a lawyer. I did an internship at a law firm, realized it wasn't for me. And that's another really cool thing about experiences is that you don't always get to know that in the classroom setting. Sometimes it takes having that for you. I mean, you have this work experience or an internship experience to figure out, like, okay, I don't think this is for me, and I could cross it off the list, and now I can go try something else.
Yeah, because things can be glamorized on the outset, but like I remember in college, like I was really good at accounting. I was like, oh, maybe I should be an accountant. But then in speaking to like people that are actually accountants, I'm like, never mind. I don't think that's right for me. So yeah, try to not like glamorize what you think would be. And luckily business is like an easy way out, but like finance does require a lot of, certifications. And I saw that down the road, and it's same with accounting, right? And like law school, like med school, like it can be a costly mistake, unfortunately. So try to find maybe someone to talk to, or yeah, try an internship. That's what the beauty of those things are. So really try it out before you really commit to it. And yeah, luckily this was just a post-grad internship, so it was only a year. But still gained like a valuable community, and I was out in San Francisco. So what's awesome about being in kind of those areas and those like cities, luckily now I think the barriers are lower, and I see a lot more companies being open to obviously remote work. So it's really cool to see like people get those opportunities, like in Tampa or in Atlanta that maybe they didn't have before. So that's been kind of I think the one COVID benefit I've seen.
Yes, is that remote work is ubiquitous now, and that people are getting to go all over. I do love that. It is something even within like our accelerator is seeing that girls who would have never considered remote work before now get to consider that as an option, which I think is awesome. Yeah, I just did a week working in Sayulita at a co-working hostel, and I absolutely loved it. And now I'm gonna have someone that I met there on the podcast to talk about like how you can even take more advantage of remote work and get those life experiences that we were talking about.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it used to kind of just be a pipe dream. Like I remember Envision was like one of the only like totally remote companies that I had a friend work at. So now it's like not so outlandish, right? And you can get those like travel opportunities as well, and like just round out your life experience too. So yeah, it's super exciting. And I think also like the diversity aspect too, right? It's not just like the pipeline from Ivy League to big cities. So I think companies are really excited about that too.
Yes. Okay, so you have this post-grad experience, then you went over to become the community associate to integrated marketing manager at Stubhub. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it actually started a little bit before that. So after my role, in the biotech space, I really wanted to get back to something I'm more passionate about personally, and something a little more uplifting to the consumer. Cancer kind of didn't resonate with me as that way, but it's an inspiring mission, but it wasn't kind of the marketing I wanted to do. So I didn't see myself becoming a marketer in the biotech space. So luckily there were options in Stubhub, and that really did combine also tech, which is obviously a hot industry that treats employees relatively well, and also bumps the pay up a lot too. So that's also something to consider. So yeah, luckily with Stubhub, I did see an opportunity actually in the PR space. Not my bread and butter. That was a whole different college, kind of an area that intimidated me a bit. but it was really the only kind of opportunities. And I think that's what's so great about this community, that you're really like creating an accelerator program and also sharing a bunch of opportunities for kind of like entry level marketers. That was a big challenge for me. I remember I was applying everywhere, and I really did want to stay in the San Francisco area since I had just moved there. So yeah, this PR role came up. It was kind of more of a PR coordinator position. But yeah, and funnily enough, I reached out to the kind of global head of communications at the time directly. I didn't have a connection there. So yeah, I just got a free kind of LinkedIn premium subscription, and I definitely recommend that as well. So I just decided to kind of cold message the global head at the time and just kind of give me a chance from there. And then yeah, once I got my foot in the door, he honestly responded right away, which was awesome. And that's just another advice I encourage like undergrad or entry level or anyone honestly to take, is just like make the ask, especially when there's a job opening. I definitely recommend just being like, hey, saw this role open, I think this is why I would be a great fit, and show why you would be of value versus like asking someone to do something for you. So like the conversation shouldn't be like, hey, can you give me a job? It's more like, hey, saw this opening, this is why I could be of benefit, and make it easy, because trying to find the right person in the right role, it's very difficult. And it can go kind of endless on loops, because recruiters might not know exactly what could fit, and they might only look for the exact mold of like, hey, you have PR experience, this PR role works, right? But I had kind of a like varied background, and I kind of get this a lot too, where it might not be the exact fit, but like I can learn and it fits within the realm of what I'm doing. So yeah, luckily he did give me a chance, and I was able to interview, and then I got the role there. So that was really exciting.
I love that story. Another way you created an opportunity for yourself, which I think is incredible. And I think a lot of people want to do what you did of cold outreach or cold message someone, but are really afraid of being rejected from that. And so, I mean, if he wouldn't have responded, he just, wouldn't have responded, but you had everything to gain there, which is him, giving you an opportunity to interview and then ultimately turning that into a job opportunity. And I think too, what you said about not going in and being like, hey, I want the job. It's like, this is why I'm a good fit for you. And I always say it's like a sales one-on-one basis, is like framing yourself so like in the viewpoint of who you're trying to sell to, which in this case is selling yourself to the company. Like, this is why your company needs to be, this is like how I could add value, showing that you actually understand what the role is, or you understand what the company is looking for, I think is such a great way to go above and beyond. So that's absolutely amazing that you did that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Just like, you need to just like lead with the benefit, just like marketing does, right? You need to lead with the benefits of how this can help that hiring manager. So yeah, it was really exciting to be there because I loved live events. So I really got to work across everything I was like personally passionate about. So that was super exciting. And I was actually able to translate my data analytics experience into creating stories around data, around live events. So I was able to like use an applicable skill that I had gained from the previous role into this role. So it was like a super kind of niche way into getting into this role, because I didn't have that traditional PR background, and PR has just kind of been evolving as well. So it was really leading data-driven stories, and then that also could translate into like marketing stories as well. So yeah, happy to get into also like how I transitioned from PR into marketing over at Stubhub too.
Yeah. So yeah, tell me a little bit about how you made that transition.
Yeah. So I was there for kind of over 3.5 years. So kind of just built relationships organically. Luckily, PR really does give you a full gamut of like the whole business. And also you work very closely with marketing. So I was able to just build those relationships organically and naturally. So, I kind of started putting feelers out, and that's like another thing too. Like, no one can read your mind. Maybe don't go to your hiring manager and be like, I want to actually be in marketing and I don't want to be here. It's more so like, what are opportunities are there, can I like that I can work with marketing more, or yourself, right? Like if you see marketing kind of doing interesting stuff, like what are ways that you could get more involved like with the people that are working in marketing? So just built those relationships like organically, and also tried to like tie to them like naturally. So within projects. So just showing them that I could follow through with things, and that I was like thinking about marketing through a certain lens through PR. The way I kind of moved through there was, I saw someone was leaving the company. So I did see that an opening was essential, could be there. Like it wasn't posted on the website yet or anything like that, but I just started kind of conversations from there internally. And I recommend you do that kind of, silently at first, and then if things really materialize, then that's a time to have a conversation with your manager and whatnot, if things really progress. So luckily the kind of spot and role was there. It actually was like a higher level role, but I think I was able to demonstrate, like they did want me to do a project internally of like things that I've done, and like maybe how I could have like created marketing legs for them, or like how so basically they kind of wanted to see like what my ideas were for current or past projects. So I thought that was a good kind of exercise, just to show I was serious there.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I was able to be into that role, and it was definitely kind of a role of a lifetime for sure. So I was leading like basically a third of the business, so like managing kind of 3 major sports. So that was like a big kind of learning curve for sure. But really exciting to learn about all the different channels of marketing, and really get to know like what makes each one tick. And then that role was really like a kind of go to market lead. So like it was awesome because I could also work with finance on promotional type events on the website. I could work with like the in-person team on actual events. Then I would work with my PR colleagues that I was just on the same team with. So it really gave me exposure to like all these different facets of like work. And I think that's also a benefit of looking at smaller companies or mid-sized companies too. You really can get more of that like cross-functional hands-on experience too. I know that was a lot, but definitely a lot of good nuggets there.
Absolutely. And what you said there about being, dropping those little hints that you want to switch careers and that no one can read your mind. I've definitely chatted about that with other guests. And I think it's such an important lesson. And especially as women, I think sometimes it's difficult for us to want to like vocalize our needs and wants. And I think it manifests itself in lots of different ways, but when it comes to your career, it can really be a hindrance, because if you're not being vocal about that, then you can't really create or have other people create those opportunities for you that you need. And so I think what you shared there was a really great example of knowing that you wanted to make the switch, being vocal about it, and then going above and beyond to show them not just that like I deserve it because I've been at the company and you should give it to me, but that I'm actually willing to put in the effort to show you that I could excel here. So I think there's so much to take away from that story. I want to go on over to LinkedIn. So you were there at Stubhub. You ended up, so this is where you found your marketing groove. So we will get into marketing. Then you head over to LinkedIn as a partner marketing manager. Tell me a little bit about that transition.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely, so I was a victim of kind of COVID in 2020. So we were going through kind of an acquisition, and then on top of it, COVID at Stubhub. And so that kind of decimated the events industry. And that's also a reminder, like, you never know kind of what your industry might lead. So like some industries are definitely just more volatile, and, events are one of them. So sadly, that role kind of ended, and, the layoff was a big shakeup for me. It was definitely tough to hear. But it also taught me a valuable lesson, again, about like women not speaking up or advocating for themselves. Like when I got the job, I definitely should have negotiated for more money. It did set me back, especially around like my colleagues and peers around in tech. I was lower paid, I did, vie for my promotion at Stubhub, which happened, but it still set me back a bit. So I vowed to never make that mistake again. And yeah, luckily LinkedIn did happen fairly quickly after I got laid off. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise before kind of COVID got really bad. So yeah, I totally shifted gears with LinkedIn. It was a proactive outreach that my manager from LinkedIn reached out to me. So that's what gets exciting once you do have some more experience. Like you'll start to see more inbounds come in. So make sure that your LinkedIn is definitely optimized. And now working at LinkedIn, like it's all keywords. So managers and recruiters can find you faster if you have that all filled out. So make sure that you're on like the all-star status. Make sure you get recommendations. Make sure that kind of all your duties on different roles were filled out, and put all your certifications, everything, just make sure it's filled out. So yeah, with that role, it was a totally different type of marketing. So this was an area I was really interested in. So more B2B focused, but still within kind of the like social tech space. So there, my boss really gave me the reins on like managing a whole partner program. So I was able to kind of like learn about kind of business development deals more fully, and like creating deals for a product. So this was definitely a new kind of era for me, for sure. It didn't end up being what I wanted. I think also COVID played a part in that, since everything was virtual and there was no kind of in-person events, which is what I thought it would be. So kind of we had to improvise from there, and there was definitely a lot of challenges, but at that role, I really appreciated my boss. Like she gave me a lot of big opportunities, and also like taught me the importance of having a boss that's gonna find big opportunities for you and kind of stay out of your way until like you really do need help, and kind of unblock things for you. And I think that's what she did really well for me at LinkedIn. And yeah, she definitely gave me kind of really valuable coping mechanisms, I guess, through work, and just showed me like what I do really want in a manager.
Can you elaborate on some of those qualities? Because I think that finding a really good manager is really rare. And also, like you mentioned, very essential to your career growth within a company, because yeah, they can be the one to hopefully unblock you and make you unstuck. But sometimes if you don't have a great manager, that can hinder your growth. So can you share a little bit more there?
Yeah, definitely. I think it all starts with the interview process. I think it also comes down to like, you shouldn't be like kind of trying to please people in the interview. Like, I think you should obviously come across, well and excited about the opportunity, but I think it's also an opportunity for you to assess if that company and that team and that manager specifically is the right fit for you. Because I think I've been in other roles that I just wanted the role so badly that it kind of blinded me to like other things that, are red flags, I guess, that I saw that maybe I didn't take into account. So I think don't let those things blind you. I think you really need to look, your manager is going to make or break your experience at a company. It truly does. Like you could be working maybe at the company that you won't want, but if you like your manager, it's going to make, the experience worthwhile, because that manager is going to help you kind of grow. And I think that's the main thing. Like make sure that, ask your manager, like, how are you kind of growing in your expertise as a manager? And like, how do you help your direct reports grow? And things like that. And like, ask them to provide you examples. Like it's an interview, it's a two-way process too. So as much as you want them to like you also need to like them. And yeah, I think that's also another kind of thing I've learned throughout my career too.
Yeah, I think what you said about not being a pleaser is like the biggest thing, because again, we talk about this podcast is for women. That is sometimes something that is a struggle, is just wanting to please. And interviews absolutely should be two-way processes. And I think interviews are actually better when they're conversations and they're less one-sided, because you are more engaged and they feel like, they're feeling heard. There's actually a stat that says that if in an interview, if the interviewer talks more than the applicant, they are more likely to think that the interview went well. just because they talk more. And so I even think that's an aspect to it. But all of those points there, what you said of asking, basically trying to asking them without directly asking them if they're a good manager is so important, because if you're going to join a new company, you are like, people don't quit their jobs, they quit their bosses, right? So you want to make sure that that's someone that's going to help you grow and take you to where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely stand by that saying.
Yes. Okay, so you were at LinkedIn for a while, doing B2B partnerships, and then you went over to Twitch as a marketing campaign manager. So tell me a little bit about that.
And what was also completely new for me at LinkedIn was this is the first time I had kind of thought of the prospect of doing a contract role. So the difference between a contract role and really a full-time role is a contract role is usually allotted for a set amount of time. Different companies have different like kind of nuances to that. So with a contract company, then you're basically an employee of a contract agency. So there's a bunch of different ones. And then that agency is basically employed by LinkedIn in a capacity. So you're technically not a LinkedIn employee, you are technically an agency employee. So with that, I think there's some caveats and benefits, like usually are higher paid, there might be different benefits, and there is some like knowledge limitations of sharing in certain ways, but I think it's an option that you should potentially consider. But yeah, just wanted to highlight that too. And then so my contract was extended, but like I said, I didn't think it was the B2B was the right fit for me. I really wanted to get back into consumer work. And again, someone reached out to me on LinkedIn from the Twitch team, a manager from there. We really clicked, and then there was an opportunity to lead sports there. So really getting involved in the sports side again, which is an opportunity I had at Stubhub, and working with leagues directly and working with those big brands that we all know. So I found that really exciting, and Twitch was like super new to me and interesting. And it really merges kind of like the creator space, which I'm very passionate about and interested in. So yeah, that role, it was great to like basically lead their like Thursday night football campaign, and be able to like work closely with creators. And that was like the first time I got experience doing that. And it really piqued my interest because like creators are amazing. They are so hardworking, especially as streamers at Twitch. Like they'll be on there for like 14 hours plus.
Oh
like
my gosh.
it's a crazy environment, and like I commend them for what they're doing. And it's amazing to see like the communities and the passionate communities that they build. Like they'll have like moderators that are not paid, but they'll be on there monitoring chats. And it's just like, it's a whole new world for me. So it was really awesome to see that world. And then when I was there was a bunch of different changes happening. And then I really did want to get more closer to the creator space. So I was able to move into the creator marketing side. It was the same team, but I just really clicked with the creator marketing girl there. So really wanted her to kind of like manage me and build me from there, and just get closer to what like creators are doing and be able to market creators too. So that was really exciting.
What a cool opportunity. And then so that maybe kind of blended, like at StubHub, you worked a little bit with sports. And so that kind of came back to your role here at Twitch.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of like rounded up that experience.
Yes. And then you got to enter the creator marketplace, or like marketing to creators. Can you explain like a little bit more about that? Because I feel like this is a new space, especially I feel like TikTok has like changed the game for that, of like making this a big thing where creators have always been doing what they're doing now. They just weren't expecting any support from the platforms they were creators on. And so now it's this new switch where now platforms want to support and encourage and thank their creators for being active on their platform. So I'd love to hear more from you on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think what's so exciting about the creator space is like it's basically a new tapped channel for marketing. And I think more brands are obviously seeing the value of that. Like you'll see like creator marketing budgets, like they're exploding year over year. because they're seeing it's more authentic to go through creators and their communities than just posting a like Facebook paid ad, right? So you'll see, like, you see a bunch of like UGC content happening on TikTok. And then also like through Twitch and streaming, you see kind of sponsorship buys, like you've always seen in sports. But I think coming from a creator that people know, trust, and love, like it's a perfect match there. And it's really exciting to be able to like see creators like finally get what they deserve and like monetarily and get that like fame and recognition from like brands we love. So I think it's just marrying the two that's really exciting. Yeah, it's definitely a space that's like exploding with TikTok and the Twitch world and streaming. It's like remarkable to see, honestly, like celebrities become like created overnight, like Alex Earl and Emma Chamberlain, obviously, and like you see it now evolving right into podcasts. So that's kind of what interested me into taking the podcast role over at YouTube. And
yes. Let's jump into that. The one thing I want to say on the thing of creators is I remember when I first learned about influencer marketing, I could not wrap my head around, like you'd hear about, like, this was a while ago, so it was all about like the Kardashians, and it'd be like, oh yeah, they make, all this money. And I was like, oh, so Instagram pays them, right? And like, no, like they don't get anything from the platform that they're like growing on and paying attention to. It's like all through brand deals, which is insane if you like really, really think about it. And like, I just remember like not understanding that at all. Like I'd always assumed like, of course, like Instagram probably pays them like a little bit for every post because it's almost like it's content on the platform. But yeah, literally basically creators for so long got nothing until, at least from my perspective, I feel like TikTok really just like shook up the game. And then every other platform now is competing for creators' time, right? They want creators to come and create on their platform. And so now they're more incentivized to jump in and provide more resources and budget. But definitely a huge shift. And I feel like also a really like you're mentioning, a growing space. So like that is a cool space that maybe didn't really exist before in marketing. And like now, if that's something that excites you, instead of maybe going down the like influencer marketing path, of going down like the creator marketing path.
Yeah, 100%. It's like something that you could pick up your camera and go get, if you want to be behind the camera, go do that. Or if you want to be in front of the camera, you can go do that. And then just like get your hands on trying it, which is super exciting. And yeah, I think the veil is being uncovered of like, how are creators making money? Like the Kardashians, like pretty clear. Like platforms like YouTube and like TikTok, they have creator programs, but the real money is coming from the like Glossier's or like other brands, right? That are going to pay, or like I see Billy or like Bloom, like Green. I see that everywhere, right?
Yes.
So they're kind of finding ways, like either through podcast advertising now or through like the creators themselves, of like getting their messages out, versus just like their like direct paid ads through those platforms. So yeah, that's where I see like the creators making the most amount of money. And yeah, like the platforms will help enable those brand partnerships. So there is opportunities within the big like tech companies and just other brands to like start connecting those pieces. But yeah, you could either go the brand route or through these like big platforms as well.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we'll get into your role at YouTube, but I feel like YouTube is the one that comes to mind that has always done things for creators, or like VidCon, or even the being able to monetize and get a percentage of the ad revenue that's shown on your YouTube channel. But yeah, tell me a little about your switch over to YouTube. So you're now the marketing manager. GTM podcast, what does GTM stand for?
Yeah, so that's a go-to-market.
Go-to-market.
So that's kind of your like integrated marketing. That's another term for it as well. Basically, you oversee an overall campaign. So that could be anything from like social to email. So what I really love about it is that you get to see like the full project in its entirety versus just a smaller piece. Whereas like when I was in PR, right, I only saw a small piece of a wider project or a wider launch. What I like about this is I can kind of dabble with like product or legal or finance, and you kind of round out. So I would say you're more of a well-rounded marketer, general marketer versus a specialized marketer, which you can do. Like you can become more specialized in paid social, and you know the nitty gritty of like what Instagram is changing, or like what the best techniques are for paid search and like how to run tests on there, right? So like you can go into different segments. So there's a lot more opportunities within marketing itself of like how you want to be, or yeah, just be an influencer marketer. And now there's also like affiliate marketing within that. Like you'll see the Amazon storefront, like that's also another way creators are making a bunch of money too. So I think more opportunities are opening up like that, that you'll see.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit. So you are helping creators like go to market with their podcasts on YouTube?
Yeah. So the podcast space is obviously exploding, and you're seeing like big creators, even like comedians, obviously like Joe Rogan, and you're seeing, Call Her Daddy, get an exclusive like $40 million deal.
Yeah.
So you're seeing these big like creators like getting these insane deals. So there's a lot of opportunity and like relatively low barrier to entry for creators. So they're seeing that, and they can really build a community. And I see that with YouTube, and like community is synonymous with YouTube to me, because there's that two-way interaction. You can live stream, you can, write comments. Like it's easy for creators to, put like merch links, everything. So I saw it as like a natural fit. They told me that, podcasts are, evolving and, exploding on YouTube. So I found that really exciting, and I was very happy at Twitch, and I thought there was a lot of growth there, but I think this was kind of like a once in a career opportunity, to really like switch over. So it's been really exciting. So a lot more things are coming too. So that's exciting as well. And again, I get to also work closely on the creator space, and like helping creators and podcast creators and basically their education around podcasts on YouTube as well. So like we're really on the starting blocks, which excites me too, because there's so much potential here. And that's also something you want to look for in opportunities, I think. Like what are going to be like the things that you can stake your career on, right? Yeah, working on a project here or there, but like, yeah, I got to launch like podcasts on YouTube, or, something that seems monumental, right? And like that you can hang your career on. So I think try to look for those kind of like once in a career opportunities. So I thought this kind of was one of them when I was interviewing, and that's kind of what I was looking for. So excited to also get to work with creators as well.
Amazing. Wow. We're through to not the end of your career journey, the beginning for now, but it is really cool to look back and see how everything connected to get you to this awesome opportunity now. And I can see that working with creators and marketing is clearly a passion for you. And it's honestly a space like I'm really excited, like talking to you about it was really interesting, because I feel like it's not a space that a lot of people are in, because like you said, it's new and it's growing and it's super exciting. So my last question for you today, Alex, is do you have any other advice for young women who are looking to be where you are now in your career?
Yeah, I think just reiterating some of my points. I think, firstly, most people want to help. So, don't be afraid to reach out to someone that, you look up to, or maybe that they're at the company that you want to be at. So if you see a post, like reach out to them. And then 2, like explore your passions. So like take that pottery class, or take that trip, or, go to a workshop. Like I went to a workshop to learn how to buy a house or something. Like, find something you're passionate or like curious about, and go from there, because that's only going to like open up opportunities and create opportunities. And then, I think just building on that, and then I think those are the main kind of 2 things that I would like take away, honestly. And
Beautiful.
Yeah, like I said, this community is awesome too. So I think this is another thing that you can do, get involved with. And like your peers in this community too, like will end up going to different companies. So like make sure you also like build on those relationships. So like if you work with someone, like check in once in a while, because you never know where they're going to end up going. And I've had that in the past, like even at Twitch, like I've run into people that worked at Stubhub, or like people can refer you from there. So
amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Sky Society podcast. It's been so fun chatting with you. And I learned so much. So thank you, Alex.
yeah, thank you so much. This was fun.